Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skipout, and this is the Top 5 Weekly, where myself and my guests talk about a topic or an actor or an actress or a director. In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about Margot Robbie, a very good actress who just got nominated for an Academy Award for her role in Bombshell. So I never do this show alone, and so I'm just going to introduce you to my guest, and it's Mr. Kyle Arango once again. Kyle, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Dan. Thank you for having me back on. I told you before when we did Scarlett Johansson, I really wanted, if you had a Margot Robbie episode, I'd really want to do it. So I'm glad I'm here.
Well, I'm glad to have you back again, because you really did a great job on ScarJo, another Oscar nominee. We're just going to be talking about a lot of Oscar nomination stuff here in the next few weeks with the Oscars in a few weeks. So
absolutely.
But with Margot Robbie, she's one of these actresses. We know she's got a lot of diverse roles and a lot of different roles, and she's just an actress that she's like on. Everybody wants to work with her, so it's going to be interesting to see what is on our list. And you know the rules. If I have something on my list, you just or vice versa, we just hold off. We move along. So this episode might go a little faster because there's only two of us, but. Yeah. We'll see what happens. All right, so Kyle, let's get this thing going. What is your number 5, Margot Robbie?
So I went more performance for my 5 instead of movie itself, although they might line up eventually. But my number 5 is a movie that she had come out just this year, and that is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know if you have that one.
I do not have that on my list, so go ahead.
Okay. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so this is Tarantino's film, and his 9th film, and he got a lot of crap for her part in this because she plays Sharon Tate, and it's a lot smaller of a role compared to what everyone else had, what Brad Pitt had and DiCaprio had. But to me, she's the heart of the movie. She's the soul, and I always look at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a fairy tale. This is how Quentin Tarantino imagined. This is how he wished that the late 60s would have went in Hollywood, how the Manson murders would have went. And she's that fairy that's kind of carrying us through the film. And what Margot Robbie brings to Sharon Tate is that sense of optimism and happiness, where you wish this woman was still alive, that we could have seen where her career could have been. And Margot just honors that so well. That scene where she's in the theater watching herself and how happy she is and delighted to be hearing people like her too. It's just beautiful to me. And she did get a BAFTA nomination for it, which I'm completely with. I think she's great in it, and I hope that more people appreciate her role in this film.
Yeah, I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood back in late July, and I'll be honest with you, I wanted to see more of Sharon Tate and Margot Robbie, and she's like going into the movie theater and she's just sitting there watching herself. To me, it just wasn't like what I wanted out of that character. And so it wasn't like a movie that I was like, oh, I'm gonna put that on my top 5. So I'm sorry about that, Kyle. It just wasn't one of those movies I was like, I love that. I really didn't like that.
More about the spark of hope that she brings, though. That's what I really love about it. She's that guiding light, and the whole time, if you know the history of the Manson murders and stuff like that, you're thinking this isn't going to go well. And then, spoiler alert, she survives in the end, and it's a sigh of relief, and you're so happy to hear her voice come through that intercom at the end, knowing that what could have been. I know I got emotional thinking about it. Like, this woman was so passionate about acting and happy to be in the industry, and that was all taken away from her. But in this movie, it was given back, and I really loved that.
Yeah, and look, I know Quentin has got this whole changing history thing going. The last 3 movies he's done, he likes to do what he feels like he wants the ending of the particular thing, whether it be slavery, whether it be the death of Hitler, or in that film Sharon Tate Lives. I don't think it worked this time around for me. The other 2, I love them both, and I like how the changing of history worked. I just didn't like it in this particular version. So there you go.
Go for it.
My number 5 is I have Mary, Queen of Scots, where Margot plays Queen Elizabeth the First. Do you have that on your list?
No, I don't have that one on my list. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen this film. I heard nothing but boring things about it, and I was able to catch a couple clips off of HBO. And like, yeah, I can see what everyone's saying.
Well, I'll tell you what. The movie itself, because you got to think about it's people, it's politics, it's like they're in these queens. Like she plays Queen Elizabeth, and Saoirse Ronan plays Mary, Queen of Hearts,
Right.
and they're inner circle, and they're kind of bantering back and forth, and who should I marry, and all this stuff. But there's a great scene where they actually come together in the movie, about in the middle of the movie, and it's a just fantastic dialogue between Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie, these two women that believe they're the queens, and who should step down and what should happen and whatnot. And if you know the history, real history, you know exactly what happens in this movie. But I liked it because I liked her doing something different than she had done before. And this is a period piece, and she had to talk differently and act differently. And the makeup, I mean, just had to look like Queen Elizabeth I. And if you've seen this character in previous movies, she's been portrayed in multiple movies. Queen Elizabeth I has been portrayed in many, many movies. So it's not, they don't do her justice with the makeup and all this stuff. So it's kind of interesting that she's supposed to be the queen, and she doesn't look that good. And then so Margot really gives a really good performance in this film, and especially when you got someone opposite like Saoirse Ronan, a heavyweight in the female acting realm. I thought they were fantastic together. So that's why I had Queen Elizabeth I as my number 5.
Well, I want to point out, I remember them doing press for this movie. I think it was just last year, and they said they kept Margot and Saoirse apart from each other the entire time filming this. And the first time they ever saw each other in costume and reading lines, even before production started, was the first day they were shooting together. So I think that's a very interesting thing to throw in there. I'll get to it eventually, but I haven't heard the best about Mary, Queen of Scots, but I've heard that scene's incredible. It just takes a while to get to it.
Yeah, it's about halfway through the movie, about maybe 3/4 of the way through the movie. But yeah, you're right. It's when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, those kind of movies can be a little bit boring when you're dealing with the type of dialogue that the people have to talk about, and you're dealing with the politics of that stuff. That can be a little bit boring. I understand what you're saying there, but I basically did it. I put her on because of her performance. I thought she was the strongest. Her and Saoirse were the strongest parts about the movie. Okay, so let's go to your number 4.
My number 4, again, I'm going performance more than the movie, is Suicide Squad.
All right, we're gonna hold off on that. I got just a little while, just a little bit.
Okay,
not very long.
Go ahead then, because I know people are like, Suicide Squad, the movie's terrible. We'll get to it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it. My number 4 is Kayla Papasil from Bombshell.
We're gonna hold off on that one then too.
Okay, see that's how. And then we're gonna go back to your number 3.
So my number 3 then is The Wolf of Wall Street.
I have actually, we're gonna hold off on that one.
We're just gonna end up talking about these movies over and over. So go ahead with your number 3.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew this would happen, kind of thing. Yeah. So, but we're gonna get to all of these. My number 3 is actually your number 4, which is Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn. So I'm gonna let you take it since you brought it up first, and then I'll follow you.
Okay, yeah, people. Suicide Squad's not a good movie. We can all agree on that. I think most people agree on that, honestly. It went in an age where DC movies are so divisive and people or either love them or hate them. Suicide Squad seems to be that one that everyone just hates. But here's the thing. Margot is easily the best part. She's the showstopper. She's the one that you turn to. And you can see that because people love her so much that she's getting her own spin-off film. I guess this is going to be airing the week of Birds of Prey. She's having her own movie coming out this week. So what she does with Harley Quinn is not what I expected at all. Harley's this ditzy in the comics, and I guess the anime series, she's kind of ditzy and just goes along with the Joker. In this movie, she's her own person. She is kind of the leader of the team, is always one step ahead of everyone, no nonsense, and is that spark in the film that it's really needed, because without her, this movie would be close to unwatchable. I mean, Will Smith's fine in it. I guess he's added some scenes, but if you didn't have Margot, this movie's even worse than it already is.
No, I honestly, I absolutely agree. Her and Will Smith are the reasons to watch this movie. I actually kind of like a couple of the other members of the Suicide Squad. It's the villain that really just, oh God, the villain and that plot of the whole thing at the end is just ridiculous.
The third story is bad. Yeah, that I've heard people say this a lot. I like the Squad. I don't like the movie they were in.
Yeah. There was actually the Squad is they're fascinating. Some of the Killer Croc is fascinating. Some of the characters are definitely fascinating. Boomerang, fascinating.
Yeah, Jack Courtney's the best he's ever been in this movie. Or Diablo, whoever Jay Hernandez is Diablo. Yeah, he's great, really good too.
Those guys are all fascinating. Like you want to explore more about them, not this stupid freaking thing at the end. It's like, what are they doing? A lot of the DCE movies are like that, though. The villain at the end, you're like, oh, what are they doing? And I could say the best DC movies are like that. Wonder Woman, the villain's the same way, but we won't get into that right now. No. Margot Robbie, Harley freaking Quinn, Mr. J, all that kind of stuff. She is fantastic as this character. She embodied this character. She made this character her own, and it really comes across on screen. And there's a reason why they fast-tracked a sequel, whatever you want to call it, a spin-off of her character. It's called Birds of Prey, but we know it's basically, and if you look at the trailers, what's in the trailers? Her. She's the main. They want people to come see that movie because of her. That movie might be awful, but they want to draw people to that movie because of the portrayal of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, Harley Quinn wasn't one of my favorite Batman characters. And if it wasn't for the animated series, obviously that's where the character came from, the animated series, I wouldn't even have cared about it. It was so good in the animated series, and then she took it to the next level and made it her own. Yeah, did Jared Leto's Joker not come across right? Yeah, but whatever.
I don't think it's his fault.
You got to give them both credit. They both try to make the character their own, and I think she's succeeded. Margot Robbie succeeded with Harley Quinn, and I cannot wait. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This episode's airing the week of that movie. That's why we're doing this episode. So,
but I wanted to point out, like I predict that Birds of Prey, or the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, the way it's called, I think the movie's going to be great. And here's why. I'm not crazy about the trailers. The tone looks very weird, but I don't know if you remember, at one point they had announced a Joker and Harley movie, a Suicide Squad 2, a Gotham City Sirens, and a Birds of Prey. This is the one that bursted through and we're getting. And that's because Margot wanted to hold back and wait for the right script to come by for the character. And she's been searching for a female director to do this and the right people to surround herself with for this film, because she cares so much about this character. And that's why I think that this movie might be pretty great.
No, I hope so. I'll be honest with you. I don't like to see bad movies. I'm not here. Oh, I'm rooting for a bad movie. No, I'm not rooting for a bad movie. I want to see good movies.
Yes.
I just have a bad feeling about February is not a good month. We have had some gems come out of February the last
we've had 2
years.
Or not. Well, if you want to just talk comic book movies,
Deadpool, Get Out,
yes.
Black Panther, the last 4 or 5 years.
John Wick 2 came out in February.
John Wick 2. Yeah. So there you go. So we have had one gem every February for the last.
Lego Batman was another one that came out in February.
Lego Batman, that's right. Lego movie came out in February.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be scared. Actually, Lego Movie 2 also. So I wouldn't be completely scared. It's not January, so we should be fine. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add on Harley Quinn? She's kind of the star of this episode. Well, Harley Quinn.
When I knew that was coming, I almost did her earlier in the year. I said, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to do. I don't think at that point I said there's not enough movies to talk about. Then I said, you know what? There's enough movies to talk about. So
and you know something else to show that how much of impact she left. What was the #1 Halloween costume the year Suicide Squad came out?
Oh, you're right. Harley Quinn was, yeah.
Yeah, you saw Daddy's Little Monster shirts on every girl under the age of 25. You know.
Oh yeah.
So she still left a legacy, and she's gonna bring it again this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I would love to see her in Suicide Squad too. To be honest with you,
she is in Suicide Squad. She's
great.
Working with James Gunn, so that's
great. I can't wait.
Yeah. So all right. So
then we're on to that. Okay, that was my number 3, which was your number 4. So now we're gonna go, and we can't talk about your number.
It's my number 2 then now, right?
Yeah. Now you're going to your number 2.
All right. I imagine we have the same #1. I'll be surprised if we don't. But my number 2 is Bombshell, another movie she had come out this year.
And that was my number 4. So go ahead, and then I'll follow you after that.
All right. So Bombshell, a movie that I liked coming out the first time, but I liked everything about it except the way it was put together. And then the second time I saw it, I loved it even more. And I think Margot does steal the movie. People are saying Nicole Kidman or Charlize, because Charlie has the flashy part. But Margot is the crux for everything that happens. The content about this is about how Roger Ailes sexually harassed these women at Fox News. And Margot is an amalgamation of a bunch of different accounts of women that he harassed. And she just brings that giddy optimism when she first starts working at Fox News. So she's happy and she's, so excited to be there. And then she meets Roger, and her whole world comes crashing down. They say, don't meet your heroes. That's exactly what she did. She met her hero, and her hero crushed her. And that scene, man, where it's her and John Lithgow sitting in the office, and he just tells her to stand up and do a twirl because it's a visual medium, he says, and then to start lifting up her skirt. You can see how much this is affecting her in her face, and there's nothing she can do. It's just Margot knocks it out of the park. And then after that, you could see how much it weighs on her that she did this, and she's stuck with it the rest of her life. Oh, I thought no other actress could have hit it like she did. And then there's the other scene afterwards where she's talking to Kate McKinnon on the phone, and she starts just losing it because she admits that she did everything that she said she wouldn't do. I know people are saying Laura Dern for Best Supporting Actress this year, and rightfully so. She's amazing in Marriage Story. But if Margot wins, you can't be upset about it, because this is such heavy subject material. You can see how much care Margot put into this character and all these women whose stories she's representing.
No, I agree. I'll tell you right now, the 3 of them that did this movie, when there was the controversy that this movie wasn't going to come out, and that Annapurna wasn't going to be able to put this movie out because they didn't have distribution for it, those 3 ladies fought to get this movie out in the theaters. First of all, they knew the work they were doing. They knew the reason why they were doing the movie, and the story needed to get out there into the theaters, and they knew the 3 of them were going to give great performances. Now, as far as Margot Robbie's performance, a lot of times in biopics or movies based on true stories, you'll have a character that is not real and not a real character, but they're like, let's say Moneyball. Jonah Hill is amalgamation of like 3 guys.
Yes.
Well, the same thing and then James McAvoy in the last King of Scotland is not a real person. He's the amalgamation of people. Well, that's the same story with Margot Robbie's Kayla Papasil. She's not a real person, but she's an amalgamation of 3 women that went through this whole ordeal with Roger Ailes. And you're right. That was the most cringeworthy scene I've seen in a long time, what she had to do to get. Then he's talking about, the dresses need to be short dresses. I need to see the legs. We need to see, that's legs sell, beauty sells, all this stuff. And she didn't want to get involved in all this stuff until it finally, when she saw Nicole Kidman's character get involved, then she saw the pillar of the network, Charlize Theron's character, get involved. And she's like, you know what? I got to get into this. And that's how Megyn Kelly, Charlize Theron, convinced her to be in. But she's not a real character, but she represents all women. And that's what Jay Roach, the director, was going for. She needed to represent all women of all ages, all colors, all creeds, all backgrounds, to see that it doesn't matter how you look or how gorgeous you are, or if you're blonde and you blue eyes and you have a nice body and a nice physique. This could happen to any woman. And It just so happened in this movie, she was portraying the any woman character, and that's what, go ahead.
No. I wanted to point out too how you said you brought up James McAvoy and another person who played him out, Jonah Hill. I would also throw into that mix Mark Wahlberg from Patriots Day. He played a made-up character who was kind of an amalgamation of all the police officers who had to deal with the Boston bombing on that night and stuff like that. And he added a lot of depth to that character too, where you even believed he was real. And I felt like Margot took what Mark Wahlberg did in that, it just brought it to another level, man. Like this, I think this performance is going to get overlooked, which is sad because it's so important. But when we look back at her career 10 years from now, people are going to see this performance and say, this was some of the best work she's ever done. She's done amazing work already in her young career. So
no, you hit the nail on the head. And that's the reason why I think the ladies wanted, I think it's Lionsgate that ended up getting the distribution rights for it. And there's a reason why they wanted that movie. They knew what it meant. It was going to mean to women, and it was going to mean for the three of them, three powerhouse actresses in Hollywood, to portray these women in this movie, and it was going to really make a difference. And I think it does make a difference. And that's the one thing about movies is they do make a difference. They do send a message. And yeah, is it entertainment? Sure it is. But it comes across as, hey, this is what happened. We don't want to see this happen again, or that happened 100 years ago, or what, you know what I mean? There's just all kinds of different, and that's what's great about movies. The stories that they tell, and the performances, and the direction, and so forth. So okay, my number two.
I also want to throw in one more quick thing real quick for Bombshell, because I know a series came out earlier this year called The Loudest Voice, and it was the same exact subject material, but it was Russell Crowe played Roger Ailes. It was on Showtime. It's a very good series, but people kind of downplayed Bombshell because they said, well, I've seen this already. If you haven't seen Bombshell, go see Bombshell, because The Loudest Voice is Roger Ailes' story, and Bombshell is a story about the women he harassed, that he abused, and their story is more important to his. So if you've seen The Loudest Voice and saying, I don't need to see Bombshell, go see Bombshell.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend it. I forgot all about The Loudest Voice with Russell Crowe. You hit the nail on the head. I just saw that he was nominated for a Critics' Choice. Like, Loudest Voice, what's that?
Yeah,
I didn't even know what it was until I saw it on the Critics' Choice the other day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my number two was my number two is The Wolf of Wall Street, Naomi LaPaglia. What was that for you?
That was my three.
Your number three, okay. So The Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese, everybody knows he's my favorite director. Mm-hmm. And this is really at the peak of his career with Leo. He had been working with Leo for like a decade leading up to this, and this is the last time he had worked with Leonardo. Did Shutter Island come out before this?
No.
No, it came out after.
Actually, no, I think it did. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last time he had worked with Leonardo DiCaprio. But the thing is,
Shutter Island was 2010, so this was 2013. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the thing is, he has done The Wolf of Wall Street before with other actors, namely Robert De Niro, namely Joe Pesci. But now he gets to do it with his new muse, which is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
Now, I grew up with this story. A lot of people didn't know who Jordan Belfort was. And I actually remember the commercials as a kid. I can make you rich. He's getting off a plane. He's walking into the TV. You're like, I know how to raise money, but doing stocks and penny stocks and all this kind of stuff on the stock market. And I can make you rich. You want to be rich like me, and you need to follow my blah blah. He was the first guy that did that stuff back in the 80s. And I'm like, wow, this guy's crazy. And then when I found out that Leo was going to play him and Marty was going to do the movie, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do Jordan Belfort? That is crazy. And the thing about this movie that I never saw coming was Naomi LaPaglia, this gorgeous blonde that shows up at this party of many parties that Jordan Belfort throws, because these guys are richer than rich. They're having parties and doing drugs and alcohol and quaaludes and you name it. And you're like, who the heck is this lady? And she owned every scene she was in with Leonardo DiCaprio. Arguably at the time, and still probably today, one of, if not the top actor in Hollywood today. Even at the time, he probably was like the top actor in Hollywood. And she owned every scene with this guy. And you're like, who the hell is this lady? And come to find out, Margot Robbie was a soap opera actress in Australia. Yeah. And she tried out for this role and she got the role. And obviously Marty doesn't make very few mistakes when it comes to casting. And there's people that are casting directors. That's their job, to make sure they get the right people for these roles. Boy, did they knock it out of the park with Margot Robbie in that role. And that was the beginning of her career over here. Yeah. Did she have a career in Australia? Sure she did. She wasn't the first one that was on that soap opera that became a star either. So I'll leave it to you now to talk about Naomi LaPaglia.
This was her announcement to the world that, like, I'm a big time actress and you're going to have to deal with me for a long time. Because for Scorsese to take a risk on her, I don't know if you knew like who it almost was, but Blake Lively almost had this part.
Oh, wow.
And I think it would have been a very different movie. Margot just, like, she introduced her sexiness to the world right away with this film. And I remember I was listening to an episode of The Rewatchables on The Ringer, and they did Wolf of Wall Street. And so I think it was Ryan Russillo pointed out, like, half of the NBA was following her on Instagram the very next day after seeing this movie. I mean, we can't argue around it. Her nude scene is one of the best nude scenes I've seen in any movie. She's just standing at the door, like, you're going to come get me, Jordan, right? And besides Matthew McConaughey's scene at the beginning, I think her scenes are the best in the movie. You could throw in Leo's "I'm never leaving" speech. That's a great scene. But I think the whole or daddy doesn't get to play with mommy anymore scene where she's in the pink dress and pushing up on him. I think that's a great scene. And then when they have the argument about how she's sick of doing all this stuff, and she says, I had to deal with the golf course people, and he's like, oh, you had to deal with the golf course people, you had to pay them in cash with your hands, I'm so sorry. She owns that scene, and then throwing water in his face and everything. She goes toe to toe with him on every single scene she's in. I also love when they have the big argument at the end where they have sex one last time, and after she's done, she's like, that was the last time. And she just owns that so much. She puts Leo in his place, and then I'm taking the kids, we're getting a divorce, and then obviously leads to the very disturbing moment. But yeah, this was her coming out party to the world, and thank God Scorsese gave her an opportunity, because she was given a role in About Time earlier that same year, which was that Rachel McAdams movie where she was, I believe she was the girlfriend that whoever the main actor was left. And so it was really cool to see, okay, yeah, she's getting some parts, but then in Wolf of Wall Street, no, she's knocking out of the park. And she's working with Scorsese right off the bat. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a chance to work with Martin Scorsese, that's basically the role of life. You know, people, and I don't want to get into a soapbox situation here, but people want to make this big deal about Anna Paquin. And Anna Paquin went to them, wanted to be in the movie, knew what the character was, wanted that role because she wanted to work with Martin Scorsese. And everybody wants to make, Anna Paquin only had so many minutes of screen time and a couple lines of dialogue. She knew the character. Yeah. She knew what she was getting into. She wanted to be in that movie. Can you fault her for that? Why are you making a big deal about this? People want to work with Martin Scorsese.
Yeah. I mean, it is fair to throw out the criticism that Scorsese isn't the best with his female actresses as far as giving them female or big parts. You know, you could throw
Sharon Stone.
That's what I was going to say.
Kate Blanchett. I can name. I mean,
But it's no. But in most cases, it's Scorsese, or with Scorsese, it's DiCaprio and De Niro and Pesci. Those are his go-to guys, and you can't blame him for that. He's been doing his entire career. But when they do get the roles, these women take advantage of it, and they're great. And look what Margot's done ever since. So
yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. That is the role of her career that launched her career. Being a major motion picture superstar. I think we know what number one is. Kyle's number one and my number one. I'm going to let you talk first, and then I will talk second. Kyle, what is your number one?
I, Tanya. I mean, I hope it's yours. I hope it's not something like Terminal or any of these weird ones or Peter Rabbit. But I, Tanya. Yeah, this is one of my favorite sports movies of all time. Because I, Tanya's story about Tanya Harding, the famous figure skater who took whatever it was, a pipe or something to Nancy Kerrigan's knee and basically ruined her life, or she was involved in that whole scandal. And Margot Robbie was very passionate about getting this film made. She wanted to play Tanya Harding. She studied so hard for it. And you see all the commitment in the movie. She learned how to figure skate. She learned how to do all these things to make herself look like Tanya Harding. And this was her, like if Wolf of Wall Street was her introduction to the world, this was her announcement that I'm here. I'm one of the best actresses working today. To me, she's the most fascinating actress. I think I'll end this episode on why I think that. But she was the driving force behind this project. She's fought to get it made. She got Craig Gillespie to come and direct it, and was pushing so hard to get it onto the screen. And when it finally did, it was one of the best movies that year. I thought it got snubbed for an Oscar nomination. It should have been up there, but she brings all the emotion that Tanya Harding is going through. She makes her relatable, because Tanya Harding was a joke for a very long time. People didn't respect her at all, looked at her as just this, oh, you're the one who beat up Nancy Kerrigan. No, Margot Robbie gave so much humanity to her and understanding. She had a tough life growing up, had to deal with Allison Janney as a mother, who's fantastic in this movie also. And that crying scene at the end when she gets the ruling from the judge is just heartbreaking. Please just let me skate one more time. It's beautiful. So yeah, this is easily her best performance. It got her first Oscar nomination, her first of, I'm sure, many to come. And I think she should have won that year. So
no, I'll tell you right now. Yeah, I, Tanya is my number one as well. I grew up with this story. This is like the 1996 Atlanta bombing, which we got that story this year.
Yeah.
This was like everywhere. News trucks and we're all over this story. And was it 92? Was it the 92?
I believe so, but it's funny enough, Paul Walter Hauser was in this movie too.
Yeah, he's in both of, first of all, he's the good guy in Richard Jewell, and he's the bad guy in I, Tanya. So, but two very similar movies, because you're dealing with two stories that just absolutely rocked the country, and it was just everywhere. And it was like, when the story's over, the next story is the next story. So when this story was over, they just moved on to whatever the next thing was. Mm-hmm. But you're absolutely right. I mean, she fought to get this movie made. She wanted to portray Tanya Harding. She wanted to play this role. She knew the kind of character that Tanya Harding was, and she knew the background of Tanya, which nobody knew, including me. When I saw this movie, I was really very shocked at the upbringing that she had gone through. And her mother, Allison Janney, wins an Academy Award for the role of playing her mother. Just one in a long line of bad mothers that win Academy Awards over the years. You go look back through the Oscars. Yeah. Bad mothers that have won Oscars.
One of the best performances of the decade, I think. I think she gets overlooked a lot. And that was just an incredible performance. Her and J.K. Simmons, I love from Whiplash. Those are movies I go back to a lot.
Yeah. And no, you're right. I mean, I'll tell you what, the skating, how can you do that? How do you learn to do that for a role? That to me is commitment. And when you can become an Olympic caliber figure skater and make it look real, it looked real to me. Kyle, I don't know about you, but it looked real to me. Maybe there was a stunt person doing some of it, but it sure looked real to me. And everybody in the Sebastian Stan.
He's fantastic, yeah.
He's fantastic. And, you know, you just kind of feel sorry for Tanya Harding. And she really, a lot of it, she made you feel sympathetic, which was what I feel like it was what they wanted. They wanted to go for. They were going for that sympathetic feeling of the movie, because she did have such a rough up. Her mother, then she marries this guy that just constantly beats her up, and then she gets blamed for hitting Nancy Kerrigan's leg, and she didn't know anything about it. These other idiots that were all involved in it, and it's like, wow, how can you do something better? I'll be honest with you, I don't know who won that year, but I'm kind of shocked that Tanya.
I can tell you what it is right now. It was 2 years ago, so that would make it Frances McDormand from Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
No. It should have been Margot Robbie. I stand by that. That I like Frances McDormand in that film, but Margot Robbie absolutely became Tanya Harding.
That was a good year too for female actresses. If I remember correctly, Sally Hawkins was also nominated that year for The Shape of Water, who gave like a very different performance that I haven't seen before. And the other two, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but it was just like, wow, this is a great year for women. And I thought Margot did the best. She had the most passion behind the role. Yeah, Frances was great in Three Billboards, but if Margot would have won, I would have been so happy. And I'm really pulling for her again this year.
Yeah, I think it's Laura Dern's, but I know what you're saying. I really did like her in the movie, but I actually like Charlize Theron better. That's just me. I like Charlize Theron better. But all right, you got any honorable mentions?
No, not really. I think these movies kind of encapsulate her the best of her. I have a guilty pleasure with Focus. I think that's a fun movie. With her and Will Smith, that's when they first worked together. Then they did it again, Suicide Squad. But I kind of want to just throw out, like, a couple months ago, say about 2 months ago, I wrote an article about Margot Robbie. It was one of my hot takes, and I said she's the most fascinating actress working in Hollywood today. And it's because if you look at her career, she has strategically picked certain roles and certain projects that have brought her to where she is now. She's chosen to work with Scorsese and Tarantino and these big time directors who've put her out there. And then she's gone toe to toe with the actors of DiCaprio and Will Smith and just these huge names that are out there. And she's put herself right next to them and shown that she's just as good as they are. You look at the actresses too, with Nicole Kidman now and Charlize Theron. She puts herself right next to them, now working with Brad Pitt and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's just really announced herself. And in every role that she's in, if it's not a good movie, she's still easily the best part of that movie. And even Focus, she went toe to toe with Will Smith. I thought she was better than Will Smith in that movie. Letting her voice to certain roles, the way she's fighting. She's got her own studio now too, that's pushing projects for female directors and stuff. And in the short amount of time that she's been in this industry, she's kind of grabbed Hollywood by its male balls and has forced them to listen to her. I don't know if you've noticed this trend we've been saying throughout all this is she fought for this. She fought for this. She fought for this. She won each of these fights she's had because she's such a powerful voice and powerful force in this industry. Charlize Theron just had a quote the other day saying how scared she is of Margot Robbie because of how quickly she's becoming a powerhouse in this industry. So any project she chooses, I'm there for. She's going to be she's in a Barbie movie coming up. She's going to be playing Barbie, directed by who? Greta Gerwig. So it's just one of these things where anything she chooses to do, I'm going to be there for. She announced something. They're going to reboot Tank Girl, and you read that and you're like, why is Margot Robbie rebooting Tank Girl? But then you read Margot Robbie is going to be looking for it. She's considering it. If Margot Robbie is looking at a role, I'm going to pay attention. That's where we at. And she started acting in Australia, I don't know how many years ago, but her real coming out was in 2013, Wolf of Wall Street. We're in 2020 now. It's been 7 years, and she's already one of the biggest names in this industry. That shows you how hard she's fought and how successful she's been.
No, you hit the nail on the head. Oh, I'd love to see a reboot of Tank Girl. Lori Petty was good, but Margot Robbie is Tank Girl? Oh, please give me that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, that Barbie movie is going to be tragic. I'm telling you, it's not going to be what you think, people out there. If you watch this, it's Barbie. No, it's not going to be what you think. It's not all fun and rainbows playing Barbie or being Barbie. So just think of what it's going to have probably things about beauty and beauty's only skin deep and all that. Mm-hmm. It's going to have some very good messages in it, especially if Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie are involved. I also had Jess from Focus, but I also had Jane Clayton from Tarzan. I actually like Tarzan, The Legend of Tarzan, with Alexander Skarsgård. Also Samuel L. Jackson's in it. I actually thought that was a decent movie. It wasn't the greatest movie, but it wasn't bad. Yeah. I kind of liked it we haven't seen Tarzan in a while, and I actually kind of thought that wasn't a bad version. And she, once again, male lead, holds her own as Jane Clayton opposite Alexander Skarsgård. So those two, and then I had Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time as an honorable mention. All right, so
look ahead too. She's gonna be in the sequel to The Suicide Squad as Harley Quinn again. And I said how she likes working with interesting directors. Who's directing The Suicide Squad? James Gunn. I'm interested. The movie, like we both said, it isn't very good. The first Suicide Squad, but we're interested now. Why? Because Margot's coming back, and you got a great director involved. So now suddenly a movie that we could care less about is one of my most anticipated ones coming up. So that's just me.
No, you're right. No, you hit the nail on the head. All right. So what do you 5-1, Kyle?
So my number 5 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. 4 was Suicide Squad. 3 was The Wolf of Wall Street. 2 Bombshell, and 1 I, Tonya.
And my 5 was Mary Queen of Scots, Queen Elizabeth I. 4 Bombshell, Kayla Papasil. Number 3 Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn. Number 2 Wolf of Wall Street, Naomi LaPaglia. And number 1 I, Tonya, Tonya Harding. All right, Kyle, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Movie Guy, on Facebook and Instagram, just at my name, Kyle Arango. I write articles for Cinesports Talk. You can find my movie reviews there, the top 10. I just came back with hot takes. I put one out there again for Taika Waititi. Check out my hot take I put out for Margot Robbie a couple months ago. It's one of my favorite pieces of work I've ever put out. So yeah, please look at that, and watch my interviews too I put out. And I also have a film. I have my short film out there. It's called The Imposters. Search my name on YouTube, Kyle Arango, Arango. You can find my short film out there. It's a superhero story about a guy who's kind of a corrupt superhero and gets exposed for his actions. About 6 minutes. Check it out. Give it a like, comment. I would love to hear your feedback on it. So thanks, guys.
And you can find me at Dan Skipbound on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also, same as Kyle, I wrote a lot of articles for Cinesports Talk. I put out my top 10 of the decade. I put out my top 10 of 2019. I've written sports articles. So you can go there and look for my articles that I've written and my reviews that I have written as well. That's cinesportstalk.com. That's cinesportstalk.com. Also, I do a little bit of writing for another website called Disappointment Media. And I do movie reviews, and I wrote some articles about my favorite performances of 2019. So you can go there, disappointmentmedia.com. So for Kyle and myself, good evening.